Hey, it's the Mexican American, where everything I say absolutely makes sense, and if it doesn't, you can contradict me, but chances are I make all the sense in the world. Sorry, you're wrong. All right, let's begin. Today's topic is toxic masculinity and the Mexican population, male, female, whatever, what have you. What I wanted to tell you was that, let me take you to memory lane or history lane. Mexicans are extremely monogamous when it comes to, how they look at things, but I'll share this with you. In the 50s, you had your oldies music. Now, oldies rules forever, ese. Oldies was embraced by the Hispanic population, and they found it really, it was overwhelming. Everybody in the 50s loved the oldies. And because black people had Motown that was embedded in the oldies as well, they were combined, and everybody just loved oldies music. Everybody liked the Beach Boys and things like that. I don't know why, but not a lot of Mexicans talk about the Beatles. Beatles was damn good music, but it was mostly doo-wop and shooby-doo-wop, things like that. But that was oldies. It was the new thing. So what happened was, as people got older, their children listened to oldies, and their children, I guess, were forced or indoctrinated to listen to oldies. And so when it came to a bunch of oldies, everybody was just embracing it. Everybody was like, that's why you had these people driving 1952 Buick Bombers, and you had people that were in love with the style, the suspenders, the zoot suit, and of course that was black. The zoot suit came from a black culture, but the Mexicans took it when the black people dropped it. In other words, we could have took your Coca-Cola warm-up suit when y'all dropped that, but we're like, nah, that's okay. We'll let that just die in the wind and disappear forever. But you do know what I'm saying. It was your culture. We will let you, I will pay homage. But when the Hispanic, Mexicans, they got older, they embraced it. They're very monogamous. They listened to nothing else. Then along came the 60s, the late 60s and 70s. This, of course, when the music died, when Richie Valens and the Big Bopper died, and I believe Elvis Costello, was that his name? Elvis Costello. But anyway, he died. No, Buddy Holly. He looked like Elvis Costello. But anyway, Buddy Holly died. And so what happened was the music actually did die. It was a little dark. It was Black Sabbath, Jimi Hendrix. It was Pink Floyd. It was The Doors. And you had that wave kicking in. And you had these Mexicans that loved that. Now it's the year 1987, and people are still jamming Led Zeppelin, and they love that Black Sabbath, and that's all they do. And if they buy a guitar, to this day, there's a bunch of old school rock and rollers. Well, then you had what I grew up at, the metalheads. And when music, in my opinion, music got better in the 80s. It did. Now, there was three types of genre of music. There was the Tejano music, which is a lot of Mexicans in this day and age that only listen to Tejano music. There was freestyle music, which was a wave of Puerto Ricans that made a bunch of this dance type bubblegum lyric music, and everybody has scattered, but there's a lot of them that like that. The Van Halen, the Def Leppard, you had Triumph, you had Zebra, you had REO Speedwagon, and then you had, Metallica and Slayer, and the ever so loved Anthrax, and that's what I enjoyed. I listened to the other two, but I embraced heavy metal and rock and roll. Well, when the 90s came around, we still had Mexicans being born, and they were listening to this junk. First of all, grunge killed my music, and I agree. Nirvana killed it for 3 years. They should have kept the party going, but then it just got bad. And let's just put it like this. When Quiet Riot came out, they came from Los Angeles. Quiet Riot had got signed, and everybody was like, who is this band? It's Quiet Riot. Then Motley Crue got signed. Then Cinderella. Then Rat. Then, all these bands were coming from the LA Guns, Warrant, Tesla. All these bands were coming from Los Angeles, getting signed immediately. So what happened was in the 90s, after the grunge came out, and then they realized, okay, now what do you got? Grunge started to suck. And when grunge started to suck, I'm talking about it sucked. It was horrible music. Not because it was depressing, not because they sold anger or they sold great sadness and woe. It just wasn't good. It didn't kick like it did the Stone Temple Pilots' Core album, the Pearl Jam One album, the freaking Nirvana Nevermind album, Alice in Chains, although they did hang, but it just wasn't what it used to be. So anyways, here come the 90s. There they go. You killed hair metal bands and heavy metal, and now you've got nothing. It's been 4 years, and you really, really need to push your product, and it's horrible. At least with the 80s, their product pushed for a good 10 years, a roaring 10 years. Everybody was loving, electric guitar, long hair, all that. Yeah, I get it. Lipstick, long hair, and blush. But hey, that was my generation. All right. But then Alanis Morissette came out. And when Alanis Morissette came out, then a bunch of people were like, let's sign bitches! So because Alanis Morissette came out, and she came out roaring, I gave it to her. Jagged Little Pill, a good album. That was it. She did the same thing like Grudge, but Jagged Little Pill was a good album. Every song there, it was really, really good. I mean, it was definitely good. But then they started signing girls like Lana Davis, that one depressing chick that sings "What If God Was One of Us." They were signing Billie Myers. They signed Sarah McLachlan. It was just a bunch of estrogen being signed. You know what I'm talking about. Dionne Farris was signed. Let's see, I could just start singing this. Freaking that girl sings, I'm a bitch, I'm a lover, I'm a cunt, I'm a mother, something like that. But yeah, everything. You know what I'm saying. It was a bunch of females, and they pushed the men aside. And when we listen to music, and if you grow up a kid that doesn't have a lot of money, you're not buying CDs and whatever. You just have the radio on. And when you turn the radio on, you were forced to listen to that. There was no options. You didn't have any options. This was going to be a part of your memory growing up in the 90s. So in my opinion, the 90s sucked. Now, having said that, what do the Mexican kids of the 70s listen to? Well, they went to rap. And to this day, but okay, well let me back up because I'm fast forward to it. They went to Tupac, Snoop Dogg, and Dr. Dre. They went to The Chronic, they went to Suge Knight's product, and they went to Biggie. And all that music talks about is death and bitches and hoes, and death and bloodshed, and death and bullets. It was pretty much, I'm going to kill you. You have this aggressive music coming in and saying that, and it's all about, what they're going to do. It was even called Death Row Records. But not because it was called Death Row Records, it was shock value. It was just what they rapped about was about death. So now you have all these Hispanic people, and I'm telling you, the Hispanic people of the 70s embraced the 50s. The Hispanic people of the 80s embraced the 70s. The Hispanic people of the 90s embraced the 80s. And the Hispanic people of the 2000s are embracing 1995. They're embracing all this music. There was a bunch of bands. Of course, the Ghetto Boys was out. And the reason that everybody had to swim over to the black radio stations and buy black music and dress black was, number one, they were getting laid. And if you wanted to get laid, you're not going to listen to Atlanta Davis and think you're going to get laid. It's not going to work. Women like masculinity. I'm sorry, they do. And because you had masculinity and you had Motley Crue playing on the stereo, or Van Halen or Def Leppard, and now you literally put that aside. Thank you, music industry. And you put grunge aside, and everybody now has to cut their hair and actually wear their sweater over their body as opposed to wearing it around their waist. You have these people that love aggressive music. It is hardcore, in your face, explicit rap music. And this is what's going on in Los Angeles today. There's a bunch of kids, there's a bunch of Mexicans that still embrace Tupac to this day. They still do. They are very monogamous. The year is 2020, and people still love Tupac. When you go to a Hispanic club or Hispanic bar, they will not play any new Drake. They will not play Lil Wayne. They go straight to Tupac and Death Row Records and Snoop Dogg. And so of course, Cypress Hill, things like that. I know my music. I mean, you're not going to tell me that I wasn't a lonely kid, not knowing what was in there, what was on TV, what was on MTV, was music. By then, MTV started to really suck, and that's another story. But what happened was, when Mexicans are very, very monogamous towards this music, well, they glue them, they adhere to the violence. So now you have these Mexicans that are growing up speaking English, and they're actually speaking Ebonics. The blacks in Los Angeles are like, why these Mexicans talk like us? They talk like us. They walk like us. They dress like us. You wanted the exposure. This is your exposure. We have to steal it, because nobody said anything when the Mexicans wore the suit. Nobody said anything when we wore the suspenders driving the 1950, Impalas and Cadillacs and things like that, fixing them up and putting a system and listening to oldies. Nobody said anything to the Mexicans when we wore the jerseys that said, freaking Poison on the front. You remember the jerseys, the white in the middle with the black sleeves that look like a baseball jersey? That's what we call them, jerseys. But those were called jerseys. Those were the original jerseys, because the baseball jerseys it was a baseball jersey, the dark sleeves with the white center. Anyway, that white center would always have a band name on it. You would see Poison or Black and Blue or freaking, it was Night Ranger. That was a jersey. And so right now, and nobody said anything to them. Nobody said a damn thing to them. And so when the Hispanics started to dress and emulate the black man, they also emulated the violence. You have a bunch of Spanish rap, and they're coming in with such toxic blacksculinity, and they throw a little Spanish in there, and it's bloodshed music. If you ever heard Spanish rap, and I don't mean Spanish rap like onda bra te mato lo cierto, no. I'm talking about Mexicans that think they're black and want to rap. First of all, they say the N-word more times than you'll ever hear from a Klansman in their music. And it's just nigga this, nigga that, nigga, I'ma kill you, nigga, I'ma shoot you. It's intense. And it's all bloodshed because they're so backed up. They don't realize that you know what, I'm gonna give you a secret. If you're a Mexican rapper and you want fame, go gay. Go gay, that's it. Go gay. They will sign you immediately. A Hispanic kid that used to be a thug and loves men, I'm giving you this, they will sign you with the quickness. It's disgusting, but that's what they are. They are not going to sign some kid talking about, I'm going to kill, I'm going to shoot. Just like they got sick of the 80s, they got sick of the 80s with the heavy metal hairbands, banging all the girls, being, disruptive and incorrigible, trying to destroy everything, talking about Satan, the devil, using their masculinity as a tool to advance and getting more and more women. Forget about it. Touring in every city and banging every girl. They were sick of it. They're like, we're not doing this no more. We're going acoustic now. Here's Stone Temple Pilots with their acoustic version on MTV. Oh my God! So anyway, they killed that. I'm telling you, bruh, they're killing rap. Everybody says rap is no good no more. Even Eminem's back. But he doesn't talk about bloodshed. He'll throw a little, I got you in the scope and I'm going to shoot you. Got it. You ain't shooting nobody. You're Eminem. Stop playing. You're locked up. You're cooped up. That's it. You're Eminem. You hardly go out in the real world. But that's fine. With the millions of dollars you have, I can't hate on you. You could be like Zuckerberg for all I care. I could give a damn. But let's be realistic. If you wanted to go ahead and have an album, I'm talking about an album deal with a tour on the Ellen Show, you have to be the guy that raps about gay shit. And it has to be a banger. No pun intended. You have to rap about gay shit. Sorry, that's my 2 cents. I am not going to help you with the lyrics because I don't know anything about that. But if you actually think that you're going to talk about bloodshed and bullets, they're tired of it. They're sick of it. They don't want that anymore. You're not gonna get any airplay. I've seen these very talented people doing the battle raps, and as soon as they start talking about guns and my 9 milli and this and that, they're not getting signed. Lots of talent, but just don't talk about gunplay no more. They're sick of it. They gave it a shot. You made your little money, but stop talking about gunplay. It's not gonna work. So if you're a Mexican rapper and you want to be somebody, you better go take a shower with a man. So you better get used to fellas, because that's the only way they will take a macho Hispanic male, tattooed, bald-headed, mustache, saggy pants. Orale, this is my first tracks called I Think I Love That Vato. I mean, it's just, you better, and they will sign you, bruh. You got money coming, you nasty. But the thing of it is that it's not going to work. They don't want that bloodshed music. Toxic blacksculinity has affected the Hispanic community. You're still backtracking in 1994. Tupac was great, but Tupac is gone. Nobody told the Mexicans, drop the oldies. Nobody listened. Nope, because they're very faithful to their memories, their teenage, the things they did, the nostalgia that they had, listening to that music. Nobody can tell me to cut off, the music when I'm listening to Triumph or Zebra, I'm or Rush, I felt bad when the drummer from Rush passed away. And nobody could tell you anything, Hispanic man, when they say, yeah, I can't tell you to cut off Tupac, but you got to understand, that's an old ass song. You've heard every Tupac song, and it's time for you to move on. It's time to get up, papa. Just start listening to other music or play an instrument or do something. Don't teach this to your kids. Don't give that poison to them. They're trying to be rappers. They want to be the next Tupac. And it's ridiculous because Tupac could talk about bloodshed. That was selling like hotcakes. You're not talking about bloodshed anymore. You're not. They're not going to buy it. If you went up to any artist, producer, and said, "Here's my song," and it's a banger, and you're talking about anybody killing, that's somebody's baby. They've already realized that. That music has done nothing but have everybody's head blown away. You know, in Brazil, there's hardcore rap, and people are dying over there because they're reciting lyrics. And I honestly, this is a separate issue, but I think if Facebook would have been around in the 90s, there'd be a lot more dead people because everybody was throwing their gang sign. And 1 minute you're throwing your gang sign being like, yeah, I'm from the east, west, whatever, mountain, the third block from the left. And now you're on Instagram with your location, you'd be dead. Nobody does that anymore. I'm telling you, it's over. You're not going to represent your hood. Nobody cares. And if you do represent your hood, what kind of idiot are you? You're on Facebook. Your locator is on. You're actually telling people you're at the Pizza Hut off of Main and Ingram, okay? You're gonna get shot. I'm telling you, but the people now don't play that mess. Everybody says that there's so many gangs. No, there's not. There's only very few. Another instead of toxic blacksculinity that Mexicans have that they stole from the black people is Bloods and Crips. That is a black gang. Those are two originated gangs from black culture. You're not black. Stop talking like you're black. Start acting like a Chicano and a Mexican, and stop listening to Tupac. That's it. How did you get here? I know how you got here, okay? It makes all the sense in the world. That's how you got here, because the music is good, and it was banging, but he's dead, along with Biggie. It's time to move on. Like I said, I'm not telling you to go back and listen to my music. If you did, though, you'd love it. But you got to do something else. Because like I said, I'm not glad Tupac's dead. Never did I say that. But I am glad you're alive, and you can go ahead and start looking at other avenues and other genres of music. Stick to what you are, man. You know, because this stuff is killing you. Ever since you've been infected with toxic masculinity, the Hispanic population has been really, really violent. We never were like this. We've never been like this. It's been really, really violent. And I don't understand you. I guess that's my time. This is the longest video I've had, but I had to explain. If this doesn't make sense, let me know, but it makes all sense in the world to me. Hit me back.